Well, let's see. We'll see how this works. If it's working, I don't know. It's a new phone. I ain't made a video in a while. Who cares? Nobody cares. Where are the birds? Hello, where are the birds? I've been in these woods for over an hour now. Yeah, I'm in the woods. Woods all around me. Even got a river back there. Look, and there's the river. Where are the birds? I haven't heard one bird. I heard a squirrel barking. Me and Buddy sat down back there for a little while. I heard a squirrel barking when we first got there. I haven't heard any birds. Me and Debbie feed the birds because we're bird watchers. We love birds. I love birds. They're the only true symbol of freedom we have in this earth. We feed the birds. We have 2 suet feeders, a couple feeders we put seed in, and we had all kinds of birds. We had chickadees, it's my favorite, titmouses. We had hairy woodpeckers, downy woodpeckers, red-bellied woodpeckers, thrashers, ground thrashers, nuthatches, 2 different kinds of nuthatches, Carolina wrens, turtle doves, cardinals, a couple cowbirds. These all coming to the feeders. I mean, you got 2 suet feeders. We was changing the suet out every 3-4 days. That's how many birds were coming. Plus, you know, the squirrels were robbing it a little bit too. I'll give you that. We don't even see how many squirrels now. We see some turtle doves here and there. I seen a Carolina wren this morning. You see a cardinal every once in a while. And we seen 1 woodpecker the other day. Where's the birds? And I typed it in on a couple different search engines, where are the birds, and all I could find is the birds have disappeared because of the government shutdown, because birds aren't real. Birds are only surveillance tools for the government. And since the government shut down, they had to recall birds. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Hey, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but you know, that's a little whacked out. But I guess it's a thing. That's an actual thing. Crazy. Where's the birds, man? Have you noticed this? I mean, you know, I'm in northern Alabama. I live right across from the Redstone Arsenal. I mean, right now, it's just literally across the river from me. I don't know if it has anything to do with it. Is it chemtrails? Is it frequencies? You know, this has been going on since before the government shut down. We noticed it dwindling off. Yeah, in like summertime, you know, you'll get it. You might get a few less because there's seeds and nuts and stuff now, you know. The squirrels are all cutting nuts. There's a lot of mass this year. A lot of acorns and hickory nuts. You know. So, you know, the squirrels are busy doing that. They don't gotta come rob the, you know, they ain't gotta go on welfare right now. But still, we always had a steady stream of birds coming to the feeder, man. And squirrels. And a couple chipmunks, you know. Just asking. Where are the bees? I haven't seen one honeybee all spring, all summer, all fall. In my little yard, I got a big patch of clover, and I let it grow up, you know. I mean, I mow my yard with a weed eater. I let it grow up and I cut it down. Nobody cares. Thank God. But anyway, I let this clover grow up and let it bloom. And man, I can remember when I was a little kid back in the 70s, man, you couldn't walk barefoot through a patch of clover without getting stung. You know? I didn't see one stinking bee. I mean, this little patch of clover is like right off my deck, right by my garden. I got cucumbers blooming, tomatoes blooming. I seen a handful of bumblebees, but I didn't see one honeybee. Not one. Where are the bees? I mean, I know they've been dwindling off, and I've been seeing less and less and less, you know, from the last 10 years. I didn't see a single honeybee this year, man. You know, I had to go up to Ohio because my dad and all that. I was up there for 18 days. And right when I went up there, you know, I planted a bunch of zucchini in my little garden. And it was growing good, you know. And when I got back, it was all blooming. Big, huge, beautiful orange blooms on it. I didn't get one zucchini this year. Not one. I had, like, I don't know, maybe like 10 plants out, man. I was afraid because you know, what do you do with all the zucchini, you know? Give it away or whatever, but I didn't have one zucchini because there ain't no honeybees. They didn't get pollinated. I actually seen a video on YouTube about how you could pollinate zucchini, you know, by hand. You know, there's a difference between a male and a female flower, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, told you how to do it. I can't remember exactly how to do it. I didn't pay much attention to it, but I remember seeing it. And I figured I'd need it, you know, and I was away during prime time and everything. You know, it's been a rough year on me. It's been like a year of a chain of unfortunate events. But I'm just saying, man, where's the bees? Where are the birds? And where are the bees? How are these younger people going to explain the birds and the bees to their children if there ain't no stinking birds and bees? You know, I mean, Mommy, what's a bee? crazy, man. Is it just me, or are you experiencing this in your area? You know, I ain't saying the birds are completely gone. I'm just saying we have had no birds at our feeder. Hardly any birds, you know, just a couple, a few. When normally, you know, we're changing that suet out, man, like every 3-4 days. I don't know. Whoa! I got my phone tied to my walking stick. I don't have a selfie, what do you call it? A selfie stick? Something like that. Probably I'd get one. Sorry about that. Trying to find a place here. Maybe I could sit down for a second. Ugh. It's fall. Leaves all are falling. At least that's normal. It's something how no matter what's going on with the controllers and the system and all that crap, the seasons still come by. Yeah, spring, summer, fall, winter. Let's work. Yeah. There we go. A big, huge rock sit on here. Got my dog with me. He's been going through hard times. Ain't you, buddy? So, where are the churches? Hello? Where are the churches at, man? There's this chick on TikTok, and she's doing this social experiment where you maybe you've seen this, maybe not. All right, that's enough. But there's this chick on TikTok, and she's she's calling these churches, and what she'll do, she'll dial up a church on the phone, and she'll have this baby, this tape or whatever of this baby crying in the background, wah, 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 you know, and she'll get somebody on the phone, and she'll be like, hey, you know, my baby just ran out of formula last night, and I was just wondering if you could help me with a can of formula. Okay. Well, this went viral. They call it viral, you know, like a virus. And Man, it's caused a real shitstorm. I think it's pretty interesting. I got on TikTok because I had this friend. This friend. And, I followed him on YouTube and stuff. And then he kind of got away from YouTube and he went to TikTok. And he's like, hey, man, you need to get on TikTok. And I resisted it for the longest time. I don't want to be on TikTok. He's like, well, you got to get on TikTok. So I broke down. I got on TikTok and figured out how to follow him. And, and I was watching his videos. And now he don't even make hardly any videos on TikTok now. I don't, you don't call me or nothing. Whatever. Whatever. But, so now I'm on TikTok. I haven't made any videos on it. I don't even really know how. But I scroll through it because YouTube is really going to shit. Excuse my French. It's just, I got all these subscribers and hardly any of them that I really gave a damn about hardly make videos anymore. And it's just like the same old crap over and over. But I get on TikTok and, you can say, well, TikTok's designed to take your mind away and waste your time and all this, and yeah, it is. And so is YouTube, and so is Instagram, whatever that is, and so is Twitter, and so is television, and on and on and on. It's up to you what you watch. You don't have to watch anything. You just get a game app and just sit there and go boop, 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 boop all day long on your phone. I try to watch stuff that's gonna, interest me. And what I like about TikTok is there's real people on there telling real stories. I like stories. I like to hear somebody's story. That's the only thing I really like about people. I want to hear your story. But so and I just came across this chick one day, and she called this church. Need a can of formula. Can you help me out? And the one I seen, the very first one I seen was this church said, well, we have a beneficiary program here. And it was a big church. I can't remember the name of it. Don't matter. It's a big church. Well, we really can't help you out. We do have a beneficiary program, but it's for our members only. And that just like, wow, man. Yeah, that's where it's got. That's where it's got. And, watch a few of her other videos. Then I see all, and it seemed like all the big churches weren't really willing to help her. Now, they would recommend other programs, because a lot of these big churches, they donate money to like a food bank or whatever. And they would just recommend her to there. But the baby's crying, the baby's hungry, ain't eating a day. She needs a can of formula now. And church after church after church turned her away. There was a couple smaller churches that they're like, well, where you at? What kind of formula you need? Blah, blah, let's get this done. And then she would let them off the hook, say, well, this is just a social experiment. I'm just calling different churches to see who would help or not, Now, I don't know this lady's motives. She may hate Christians. I mean, you look at her. I don't know her heart. Don't care. And one of the churches, and then now there's all these rebuttal videos. There's like a big battle on Facebook over it, you know, where these churches that turned her down and found out what's going on. You know, it was just a social experiment or a scam or a liar. You know, they're calling her a liar. And, you know, one preacher down in Louisiana called her, you know, this a witch. You know, she's a witch and she's going after the people of God and everything, you know. And what I got to say to that, you know, going after people of God, you ain't no damn people of God. Because if you were people of God, you would say, where you at? What kind of formula you need? You know, where can we meet? Whatever. Let's get this baby some formula. You know? And then you got these other churches going on, you know, well, we said no because you don't know if you're being defrauded or not. You know, we get a lot of scam calls, you know, people just taking advantage of us and all this and that. So now they're all paranoid. People. Hey, Christian, man. If you're a Christian, you're going to these churches, well, you're looking bad right now. I mean, you've been looking bad, but this ain't helping you none. It's so sad. And you know, now she called this one little church. It was either in Kentucky or Tennessee or somewhere, just a little church. And the preacher is like, you know, where you at? What kind of formula you need? You know, blah, blah, we'll get it to you. You know? And she let him off the hook, you know, say, hey, you know, just, well, guess what? Because this has gone so viral, I guess in the last week, that church has received $90,000 in donations. And you get people on there. Now there's all these freaking people on TikTok commenting, making videos, commenting on this social experiment and what happened. And you get some people saying, hey man, these churches are messed up. And you got other ones saying, hey, these churches are in the right. This woman had no right to do this. She's persecuting the people of God. Man. But this is exposing the apostate Protestant churches in this country. And that's exactly what they are. They're in apostasy. You read your Bible right, it prophesied this. You know, it ain't nothing against the people in the church. I'm sure there's a lot of good, well-meaning Christian people, God's people in these churches that if you would have called them at home, you know, they'd been more, you know, if they could, they'd be more willing to help out. But she's calling the church number. And then you get a secretary. Some places she called you, they had a menu. You know, it's like if you're calling your insurance company, you know, if you want to file a claim, press 1. If you want to, you know, because that's what it is. That's what these churches have become. I'm not going to say all of them. There's obviously a few good churches out there. They're few and far in between now. But these mainstream, like, you know, a lot of the churches that turned her down were Baptist churches, big Baptist churches. You know, not to pick on the Baptists, but I live in Huntsville, Alabama, and I see homeless people on the street, and I see multi-million-dollar Baptist church buildings. I'm just saying. You know, where in the Bible does it say you have to have a big building and you have to meet once a week, you know, for an hour or two, sing a few songs, say a prayer, collect some money, and hear some words and go home, watch a football game. Where does it say that in the Bible anyway? These churches are taking God's name in vain is what they're doing. They're professing Jesus. They're professing God, but they're not following Jesus. They're saying they are, but they're not. Jesus said, if someone asks you to give, you give. And expect nothing in return. He said, if somebody asks you for your coat, you give them your coat, you give them your cloak also. That's what my Jesus said. Come on, man. These churches, these big churches, they're bringing in tens of thousands of dollars a week. And all they are just religious entertainment businesses. That's all they are. They ain't speaking no truth. They ain't preaching to where you get convicted of your sin and want to repent and change your ways. They ain't doing that because nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to feel good, so we're just going to give a feel-good message. We're going to twist the scriptures and make your ears feel good, tickle your ears. And that way you'll keep coming and you'll keep giving 10% of whatever your paycheck is. And, we can get that new sound system we've been coveting. That's taking God's name in vain, man. Where are the churches? There's so many stinking churches in this country. Why is there a homeless problem? You drive around on a weekday and these churches are locked up. Got cameras on them, big surveillance systems, alarms, whatever. How come nobody's feeding the hungry? Yeah, we got a government shutdown, so now SNAP's gonna disappear. Blah, blah, blah. I was blessed yesterday. I was driving down through my little neighborhood, and there's a woman, bless her heart, she put some shelves up in her front yard on the curb there and is stocking it with food, with canned goods, and, food stuff. And it's a little food pantry just for the neighborhood. And she has a sign up there, take what you want and give what you can. Ain't that what it's really all about, man? It ain't that hard. Everybody get all caught up in religion. It's all about loving God with all your heart, mind, body, and strength. And loving your neighbor as yourself. That's what Jesus taught. Jesus didn't teach, run around being suspicious of everybody. You get a homeless dude walk up and ask you for $1 so you get a sandwich or whatever, and you don't give it to him. I've heard preachers preach this. Don't you give that homeless man your $1. He's just gonna go buy a can of beer with it. Don't you give that homeless man that $1, because he's gonna go get some drugs with it. He's just a drug addict. I don't know what Bible and what Jesus these preachers are preaching. Jesus didn't turn anybody away. But see, everybody's, in this social experiment I've been speaking of, it's like, it's a crazy thing to watch, man, because now a lot of people are saying, oh, see, Christians ain't no good. Because they got their eyes on these people that are professing to be Christians, when in reality, when in scripturally, they're not being Christians, and it turns them away. It's a fascinating thing, I don't know, like I said, I don't know this lady's heart. I ain't her judge. But man, she started a shitstorm. And I think it's waking some people up. But I think it could be putting some people back asleep too, turning them away from God. It ain't about religion, man. It's about a relationship. And I know that is a trite thing to say, but it's the truth. It's the truth. Pure religion is this: to help the fatherless and help the widows and the fatherless, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. That's pure religion, according to my Bible. That's the last verse in the first chapter of James. Y'all stay warm and dry, be safe, and seek Jesus. Bye.